Right, so now we are
Waiting.
to head into our next game. I think we're just waiting on our next couple teams. I think one is in. We're just waiting on the other one.
Yeah, we have lose much rating at the moment. We are currently waiting. Lose much rating, not waiting. Sorry, I had the word waiting in my mind. Anyway, we are currently waiting for SHIFTplay.
Alright, so we're going to head into that. That is going to be one of the quarterfinal matchups. Again, both of these teams have qualified for the for next week's tournament. So now we are just continuing throughout the rest of this tournament. We're going to play it out to the very end, and we'll keep you posted as far as which teams further qualify. Those games are already underway, so we're just waiting for those to resolve. I think we're just about ready here.
Yep, they have joined us. Aren't they nice?
That is. That's kind of them to be in here. Well, let's go ahead and we'll just take a look at the ball here as we are waiting for everybody to come in. But yeah, so that is the current schedule. I mean, that's what it looks like. Obviously, this is many months in advance. This is the way kind of things have played out, but it looks like we're ready to go. So let's get in to our first quarterfinal game. Once again, both of these teams have qualified for next Sunday's EU qualification tournament. They will be in it. Now it's just time to play for some pride, play for some glory, and I don't know, whatever else. Cracker Jacks?
Yeah, you don't go into the rest of this tournament half-heartedly. You square go to the maximum. This is still a tournament, lads.
It is. I mean, they're still playing for victory here. You know, you go into a lot of these other tournaments, and yeah, maybe there's a little bit of potential prize money on the line, but here there's a lot to be gained from being one of those teams that can take it all the way. You know, big wins to be had.
Big wins. Oh,
so
speaking of big, that's a big shot.
Rev Up gets the opening goal here for SHIFTplay. So we can see this one more time. Distance is the name of the game on that shot, apparently, going from behind the half-court line to put it in up high. So not only was that a lot of distance, but a lot of height, too. So manages to drop just below. So, good opening goal there for SHIFTplay, who kicks off the scoring here. And it looks like the scoring is going to continue, but no, Bounty tries to get in there.
Seems a little bit right now like lose much rating are playing a little bit too high up. They've almost been caught twice now with these long floating shots. So they need to change that, and they need to change it quickly because they're going to get caught more.
They are. I mean, it looks like they're playing out, as far as shift goes, they're playing out a lot of these distance shots and trying to just sort of exploit that defense. And it very well could happen. Let's see, Niak, he's going to not be able to make any contact there. He was going in to try and establish something. Looks like playing on lose more rating is Ash, who I believe is also a former member of ...
Yeah, ... representing today in different forms.
Yeah, you know, every little bit.
It would have been nice to see them, but you know, it would also been nice to see Umai Zero and the rest of these teams
agreed
come in.
Yeah,
I don't understand why some of these teams didn't wait until after this qualifiers to split up.
Well, you know, I think the motivation isn't necessarily that they weren't winning. It was more just, you know, a desire to continue doing this, because it takes a certain kind of player and a certain kind of person to want to keep doing this sort of thing.
Yeah, persistency really is the key, because the game keeps ramping up. You might be the best today, but you've got to be the best in a week's time as well.
Yeah, and that's not easy for a lot of teams. But in any event, it looks like right now Lose More Rating trying to put together some kind of offensive attack here and help tie this game up. We've reached the halfway point of the game, and you know, you don't need a lot of time to tie up a one-goal lead. You really don't. That can happen in a heartbeat. And a big save by Bounty. Gets underneath it and clears it off to the wall. Now Lose More Rating is going to try to turn it around. Hank with a nice play forward. Ash tries to keep it in the zone, does so pretty successfully, at least for now. That can, of course, change in a heartbeat. Hank again, good play into the corner here. It's going to come off to be a decent center. Oh, Bounty was in a nice spot, but it couldn't quite play it forward. A bit of a contest in the corner now. Again, Bounty trying to play it out. Let's follow Bounty a bit here as he's trying to kind of fight it along the wall. see if he can get it through. But yeah, as it stands right now, this one goal really isn't much.
It seems to be a common trait of these first games.
Oh, well, one goal wasn't much, but 2 is good. And Ref Up gets the second goal as well. Just the tightest possible angle. It might have technically been a bit of an own goal there, but looked like it was going to possibly fall in. So
Yeah, that was just a great touch from Rev Up as well. I think that was mostly used to set up his teammate, but you'll take the goal wherever you can get it. And even if he didn't put it into his net, there was Gonforian was literally behind him, just saying, "All right, you touch it, or I will. Just pick."
Yeah, exactly. And that's the type of style you want to have. Another nice play. Neok comes in with this little aerial shot, gets played off the corner. Good play by Rev Up, who centers it nicely. A little bit of freestyle there, kind of going into the cartwheel to get that goal. But a good start here for SHIFTplay to extend this to a 3-0 lead and effectively, I think at this point, pretty much secure their win here.
Yeah, I mean, Lose Much Rating have been a team that have been slowly getting better and better. I remember seeing them in a couple of Gfinity tournaments where they were out in like first round or whatnot, so it's good to see that they're getting better. This match, however, is going to be a huge step up for them. And Ash is going to bring experience to them, but they still need to really show up.
Oh yeah, no, they definitely do, but we'll really see how it all plays out. So another quick little bracket update while we're letting this game wind down. Galactic Lions has made it into the quarterfinals, therefore they have also qualified for next week's tournament. So a few interesting names as a part of this.
Yeah. Galactic Lions, I believe that they're quite a new team, actually. Or at least a team with a name change. Honestly, it's quite difficult to tell what's what these days.
Yeah, you never really know. It's usually could be either one at this point.
I mean, at this point, we're starting to see now, like, the depth we were talking about earlier of EU. We are seeing teams like Galactic Lions, teams that I believe are only just recently formed, and we're seeing the teams that have persisted together for a long period of time start to come through.
Yeah, and that's the beautiful thing, is it's all about the type of players and the type of, teamwork and team dynamic that they have. But as far as SHIFTplay goes, good start to this series, coming out swinging 3-0, so
that was pretty convincing from them, and they seem to be very good with that long shot. But not only the long shot of it, is following up. And when you follow up these long shots, you either have a choice. You either go for goal or you set up, and they've been making the correct decision almost every time. Oh,
all right. Fair enough.
Yeah, Galactic Lions is a new team.
It looks like we're going to have to redo that. So yes, Galactic Lions, a team made up of Deaton, Zumitail, and Flark. I know Deaton was a former member of My Zero, and Zumitail was part of... Zumitail, sorry, not Zumitail. Zumitail was a part of Generation of Billies. So there's players that, we said teams are breaking up, but there are also teams that are coming together again with new, stronger partnerships. Yeah, no, definitely. They are... I think that's what happens, is you get maybe some components of a team that don't quite work out or don't quite continue to play. But then, they decide, other players want to keep going, but just need to find a new home. And, yeah, it's interesting stuff to see where they wind up ultimately.
Yep, server has been recreated. So we will wait for the teams to get back in here.
All right, well... There we go.
This definitely aids Lose Much Rating here. They needed a little bit of time to step back, and a server coming down will certainly give you that extra time.
Yeah, so it's almost like a server switch in an international tournament. So we can consider this Pro League prep, League playoff prep. So if they make it through next week's qualifier, and then make it through the actual Pro League itself, then they know what to expect, or at least get a taste of what an online international tournament is like. So, but yeah, as it stands right now, I mean, sometimes a little break like this can completely change the tide of a game and the dynamic of the game. So.
Yeah, this is going to be the match, though, that we finally find out whether or not that was a true showing, because after this break, if they then go in and lose by the same amount for a second time, I think we can be fully convinced of SHIFTplay's positioning compared to lose much rating.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's going to be pretty much a secure idea of where these teams are. And that's one thing, is that SHIFTplay obviously has a bit of an edge in just the terms of having played together for much longer. So that can help. You know, individual skill goes a long way, but a team dynamic, especially when you've been working together for so long, can go a lot further.
Oh.
But that one, all right. I don't know what kind of weird little situation there. Ball just sort of falls and trickles right into the net. Very slow rolling shot off of a, well, I guess a little bit of a contested clear attempt.
Yeah, but as you said earlier, you take the goals. It doesn't matter how you get them.
Yeah,
you will
no,
take
it really doesn't.
Especially after the last game. You know, a goal like that is exactly what you need.
Yeah, just get everything, you know? Do whatever you want, whatever you can get to get a goal and keep that momentum going. Oh, and there's a nice shot on net that Conthorian has to clear out. Here comes Shift back on the attack. Nice play up high. Trying to go for a, what I like to call the classic.
Is that the ball coming off the backboard, is it?
Yeah, when you play the ball off the backboard and then put it in, that's the classic.
Yeah, that is.
You see that all the time.
That was like the only goal that got scored in Supersonic Battle Cards tournaments.
Oh, good. That makes even more sense that it's called the classic.
Yeah, that
literally is classic.
It literally is the classic. It was just power shot, follow it, score.
So, update you all just probably saw there. DNA Esports has also qualified.
That's a nice one.
Team solid, and there's Hank. Just as I'm about to try and explain further.
Yeah, they don't want anyone else to have the spotlight. This is their spotlight.
Yeah, you know, you figure being on stream is spotlight enough, but apparently not. So, anyway, once again, like I said, both DNA Esports and Team Solid have managed to qualify, so they will be in next Sunday's tournament. And I think that just leaves one more spot, if my math is correct.
Don't ask me.
Oh,
I can, however, tell you that this is a close game. That's how good my math is.
just put this shot on net, and I didn't see any real reaction from Bounty.
Yeah, he
until like the last second there. So
I don't know what happened. Deer in the headlights look to him there, where it was just the ball was coming in and he watched it.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun to watch, but not if you have to play too. That's why I chose to be a caster, because I prefer watching the games instead of being obligated to them. So
I have no excuse.
Well, I shouldn't say I chose to be a caster, because I'm also terrible at this game. So I like to think that casting is my calling for Rocket League, because I can't actually play it. But in any event, yeah, like you were saying before we delved into that conversation, it is a very close game. It is a 2-1 scoreline. Lots and lots of Rocket League left to play in this game. And only a 1-game advantage for SHIFTplay in here, so they still have plenty of time to turn this around, potentially close things up, and force a deciding Game 3.
I'm starting to get to the stage here. Well, I'm starting to think like games 2 and 3 really show us who the better team is. Game 1 never really seems to show us much.
Well, it doesn't, because, and there's a reason behind that. Like, Game 1, especially for teams who are not familiar with one another, or at least haven't played each other a ton, they basically use those games to figure out what their opponents are going to do. They want to figure out what their opponent's play style is, what they can get away with, what they can't do, and how they have to approach the game. And even if you get matches between two familiar teams, sometimes they do that as well. And there's a nice shot by Neok. We were on board with Neok that entire time, so let's just watch it one more time. Plays this shot off the wall. Beautiful aerial redirect. Puts it away for the tying goal. So good stuff by SHIFTplay. They had a bit of a slow start, but they're coming back into fighting form, and that might be enough to take this series if they can keep that sort of momentum going.
I mean, it was important for them to do it as well, because they were on the edge of starting to lose momentum. We've seen it in the last 2 series that we casted. Game 2 tends to be a bit of a sweep. So this is absolutely huge. They managed to stop that, and not only that, but they managed to show that, yeah, you got 2 goals, but we won the first game, and we didn't win that by luck. That defense.
Oh! What in the world?
You had 2 chances, and you have to take those.
And they both literally bounce off the same place on the same post. Oh, those are heartbreaking. Those are just completely heartbreaking. They had wide open opportunities on net and nothing. Nothing giving.
It's going to be huge now if SHIFTplay go on to score after that.
Okay,
So,
Neoke. I'm sorry, I keep calling you
Neoke.
Neoke. It's Neoke. Okay, I apologize.
A space would have been nice.
Yeah, like or an underscore or I don't know, a dash. But all right, Neoke, you got it. I got it. Sorry. I'm not watching chat, I'm watching the game. But I finally took a glance at it, so alright. Anyway. We're still on board with Neoke. Who is kind of hanging back too far back, though. That's a big opening for Ash, and he gets the big goal late in this game.
Yeah, it's absolutely crucial that they go on to win this one as well. Lose much rating. They had that huge opportunity earlier, which they didn't capitalize on. Entno missing that one, though. That's right in front of the goal.
Ooh, yeah, they needed that goal, especially after those 2 post shots. I mean, that could have been the kind of thing that'll kill morale. To have 2 big, wide-open chances and just having a little bit of an accuracy issue. Here we go. We are in 0-second time, and that one is going to hit the ground. So it doesn't turn around, but Lose Much Rating finally manages to get on the board, tie this series up. So we're headed into our next game. Plain and simple.
This is looking like a possible 5-game series here. If this keeps up, slightly leaning towards the side of SHIFTplay right now because they've had that strong first game and still managed to make that last one close. But Lose Much Rating, they look like they're slowly starting to come into their own here, and a victory in the close games, we said in the previous series we casted, is absolutely huge.
It absolutely is, and we are, you know, I don't know, it's kind of a little hard to read. I'm kind of on your side in saying that it could go a full 5 games, but I don't know if it's just hard to read because it's hard to read, or if it's hard to read because...
Well,
What happened?
I don't know, everyone...
It was wide open, and they were just sitting there. What was that?
Honestly, if someone said to me, this server is terrible and that was lag, I would believe them on that one.
Yeah, I mean, that was all I could think it was. I don't know if that was server lag or brain lag, but that was a completely wide open net, and there were 2 LMR cars there, and nobody, like, budged. Didn't do a thing.
I mean, I can only put that down to they were both, like, facing backwards, and they were both saying, all right, he's going to go for it.
I mean...
I don't know.
I can't. I can't even
I want to put that down to server lag. I really do.
I'm going to say, like, maybe a Windows update is starting to download, and they got, like, computer lag, and, you know, I don't know. But that's just... Okay. Anyway, we're going to keep moving on. Fine, we're 1 minute down. A weird little hiccup there, but now SHIFTplay trying to go on the attack. Good clear out by Bounty, who gets credit for the save. Now a nice play forward by LMR. Nice setup, and Hank gets the goal. Bit of redemption for LMR to finally put that on net. So Ash plays this goal forward. A little bit of the classic there. Off the backboard.
I was about to say, am I going to use that terminology correctly if I say that?
I think so. I think anytime. It doesn't have to be the same person who puts it forward off the backboard. I just think anytime the goal is played off the backboard and then immediately put in off of that rebound, it's still a classic. So, good example of it right there. And another nice play forward, but it goes off the post. The post is clearly the biggest enemy of LMR in this series. He has been constantly denying goals to this team all series long.
Yeah, this is it would be safe to say that this game should probably be 2 or 3-0 right now to LMR, but it's not. And they really need to make sure that they catch this next one, because SHIFTplay, they are a team that can explode into this match.
They can, and they really should. You know, this is really kind of their time to start doing it and stop letting these chances come through before lose much rating, because right now that's a lot of what's happening. It's just a lot of constant opportunities that are being let toward the net or on net by LMR. And a nice little cross there gets denied. And we're going back the other way, and just like I said, LMR plays it up. It's going to go off the sidewall there, and a nice redirect by Bounty.
Yeah, just an overcommit there by SHIFTplay. Gone for it, he has to go for it. Honestly, I believe what he did was correct. But the fact that there were 2 players already ahead of the ball just completely made sure there was no defense left.
Yeah, and it just got very, very tight there in terms of you know, whatever room was left to really work with. But decent bit of defensive play. Nice shot on net by SHIFTplay, but looks like it's not going to happen. We'll go on board with Gonthorian, who will get some nice contact to try and clear it out. But Bounty prevents it from going too far. Now Neoke is going to send it to the corner. Will he play it forward here? Oh no, he didn't make any contact to try to beat Bounty to that. And RevUp is going to have to fall back to try and stop this shot on net. And time is starting to become a bit of an enemy. Just a little bit, and I think it mostly has to do with the fact that scoring is not exactly happening very rapidly here.
Yeah, SHIFTplay is sort of lacking a little bit of creativity at the moment. There's no one trying to set up there. I mean, look at that! That is creative!
That is fantastic.
That's some Bob Ross artistry right there.
Sent all the way down, and Ash just gets the right redirect. Beautifully puts it in. 3-0 is your scoreline. Oh, and that is another shot right off the kickoff and Bounty. If we follow Bounty here, we're going to see this is going to come right off kickoff here, because both teams just kind of pass like ships in the night. And nobody can get in front of it.
Yeah, that is... It settled itself just as nicely as possible there for Bounty. Because it was slightly into the blue half, that meant that the ball was always going to travel slightly faster. So usually if it travels into the orange half, SHIFTplay are going to get to that. But because it was slightly closer, less distance to travel, meant that it got there into that goal a lot quicker.
It did. A good shutdown, but here's a nice opening for SHIFTplay, and they can't get to it. Everybody too far forward for LMR, and they are going to let that one happen. Good pickup off of that bounce off the back of Bounty's car. Nobody back in position for it. So Shift finally gets on the board, but
this one's convincing. Yeah, this one is convincing to lose much rating. But it's important that SHIFTplay have now got the goal back, because there have been 5 goals unanswered so far until just now.
Yeah,
it's important to break these streaks.
It has, and hopefully the late goal can help turn things around in the next game, because they do need whatever momentum they can get, and there's another good follow-up. So kind of like one of the games we saw previously where the score went from 4-0 to 4-2. It could help turn things around a little bit, but like we saw in that last series, it could not matter at all, because in that game, it was a win that didn't really matter too much for the team that got the 2 goals in terms of momentum, because it was
a win. It's one of those things of it can help you, it can also not. It depends really on the mentality and how the next game starts. Because if a game starts and you immediately concede, all the momentum you've been working up for is worth absolutely nothing.
Yeah, it drains away entirely, because that's what you're trying to prevent. That's the entire thing you're trying to play against, is not conceding any goals, let alone any early goals.
Oh, Neoke.
But another.
Talked about Happy Feet earlier. Look at them. Someone needs to inform him that Happy Feet is not a motion capture movie. I think he just tried to audition.
A little bit. Brilliant dribble there by Neoke. Puts it away. Gonthorian, who comes in to get the big finish. And they just made this 4-0 game a very interesting 4-3 game.
I just realized this is very winnable.
Yeah, there's the potential for some late game theatrics here to try and come back into this, but they are very, very low on time. Final 10 seconds. They're going to have to carry this all the way downfield very quickly. You can see LMR doing everything they can to prevent it, and that will do it. So, despite the attempt by SHIFTplay. The comeback did not happen.
No, but it's going to be important to see how this works out as we go forward. Because that was a seriously big emergence from SHIFTplay there. It's starting to show what they showed us in the first game. Unfortunately, they left themselves just too big of a mountain to climb.
Yeah, they did. I mean, trying to come back from 4 goals like that is next to impossible, and it nearly went very well for Shift, but they could not eke it out. Well, while we're waiting for the kickoff, final bracket update. Orcs RL is the final team to qualify, so we have our top 8. We're going to go over those after this series is done and talk about the final teams that will make it into next Sunday's tournament. But for now, let's see who actually makes it through the rest of this tournament and ultimately picks up the big win. Because
this is for a place in the semi-finals.
Yeah.
This is I mean, at that point,
Final 4.
You can consider yourself one of the top 14 teams in your region.
Exactly.
If you go by that logic.
No, I really think you can, because that's kind of what it's all about, is, you know, you now have these teams that are competing directly with one another. And a nice shot by NeoK goes a little too wide and hits the post, the inside of the post. That's why it took that weird little bounce back toward the center. Man, that is rough. That is a difficult shot to deal with. Rev up with a big save there. But I think in this game, since they are at match point, SHIFTplay really needs to start putting a little more aggression on the ball. Start playing it forward a bit more and not letting things like that happen. The Bounty, look at this play. Off the wall, off the back, and then just carries it the rest of the way with a side swipe goal. Really well done.
So smart from him as well, knowing when to release that. There was a player who literally just sat there waiting for him. It was smart of him just to know, all right, I don't need to carry this any further. Let's just throw it now.
Oh! Ash with a huge shot on net gets denied. But still, lose more rating is relentless. Hank coming in.
I mean, we saw this last series. We saw the game 3, where one team was ahead and then slowly the comeback was happening. And again in this one, it was immediately shut down.
It was, so... I mean, I think what LMR wants to do now is really just get these goals on and just keep going. You know?
I can't imagine LMR just sitting on this now. They're already saying that SHIFTplay can claw back 3 goals in a very short period of time. So, mentally, I think they're having their head right. 4 goals. 4 goals is the cusp.
I mean, it might be. You know, I think what they really need to do is not have a target in mind. Just be in the mindset of keep playing forward. You know, keep playing the game like it's tied. I think that's the approach they should have here. And just keep putting goals on net. And that way they don't have to worry about it. Because they're just far, you know, that way they'll build up a lead that is so insurmountable that time just won't allow for SHIFTplay to come back. And they're trying to play it forward, and that arcing shot by Bounty goes soaring over the head of one of the members of Shift here.
Yeah, I think Golforian just...
right under him, actually.
Yeah, I think he just misjudged that entirely. We can see there from the chat. I think they've thrown in the towel by this point.
I mean, I hope not.
I hope not as well.
It's only 3 goals, and there's a lot of time left. Well, it's only 4 goals, but there's still a lot of time left.
I mean, you have to still keep going for this anyway. You can't turn up next week, go a couple of goals down, and say, oh, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, they have to keep in mind that, you know, whatever momentum they can build up in this tournament is something that they can carry into next week as well. Just in terms of knowing who they're going to be playing against and dealing with a lot of these teams there. So, I mean, competition only gets harder starting next week. Plain and simple.
Yes.
Because
we keep ramping this up until we go to space.
Yeah, there's only 2 teams that aren't going to be playing next week that I guess you could say are like good enough to, and that's Flipside and SK, and Ash getting a 5th goal here. So they've taken what I said to heart, it seems, and they're just continuing to score because that's what they really need to do here. But,
this has just been... We've just seen lose much rating just slowly get better and better and better throughout this series.
They are. They've been getting... They've figured out whatever SHIFTplay's style is, and they're exploiting it very well. So, yeah, I mean, at this point, it's just a matter of, oh, this is another, oh, could have been a decent opening, but he did get beaten to the punch.
Still there.
Yeah, oh, another play in. Hits the far wall. But look, I mean, just constant pressure and constant shots. It's a little ridiculous. And yeah, you know, SHIFTplay is going to have to get it together, because next week the competition gets way more stiff. They're going to deal with teams like Noble Esports, like Crown and Jewels, like MyXMG, like Team Rocket. You know, a lot of these teams that are generally ranked and can generally perform even at a higher level than a lot of the teams they've dealt with here.
Every team that has already qualified for next week is proven.
Yeah. They have established, they have a track record of being a high-performing, high-caliber team, many of whom are former top 2, top 3 teams who have, you know, contested for those spots before. Several of them who have beaten teams like SK and Flipside. So, you know, you can't be on the cusp of that and have losses like this. You really can't.
I'll tell you what, if Lose Much Rating turn up like this next week, I honestly, like, I'd be a little surprised, but I wouldn't be sat here in complete shock if they went through.
Oh, okay.
Although I will be if you set up your team, you set up your opponents like that.
Yeah. So
that's wrong.
On there by Rev Up, and yeah, I couldn't quite get the angle he needed on the clear, and he ends up just doing a beautiful center. So
yeah, that is wrong. Bad. A big no-no.
Yeah.
You've made Kevin the dinosaur cry with that one.
Don't make Kevin cry.
I know. Kevin's just adorable. I love him.
You gotta take care of Kevin. I saw that donation that we got to buy Kevin food. And don't worry, all of your donations will not only go towards the operation of this tournament, but they will also go towards feeding Kevin.
That dinosaur is not cheap to feed.
No, but he does like giant bread, so... Or is it giant bread, or is he a tiny... I don't know.
I like the idea that every time Kevin comes up, the chat should just spam bread.
Well, we discovered earlier that the bread emote and the Kevin emote fit together very nicely. So I believe Kevin does enjoy bread, and I think since
he's a herbivore. Wait, no, not even a herbivore.
Well, I guess technically it's
carbivore.
Carbivore. But you know, I'm thinking that the bread is regular size, and that's how small Kevin is. So he's just this tiny little adorable dinosaur, who is the mascot for RLC Pro League. I will say, a very nice showing by SHIFTplay late in the game here, but why do they wait so late?
I don't know.
It took them all this time to put up 3 goals, but unfortunately it is not enough, and Lose Much Rating will move on to the semifinals, to the Final Four.
What it honestly might be is that they just play better when the pressure's off. Once the game has been completely out of their hands, they've played phenomenal. Maybe they just need to try and relax a little bit, play how they want to play.
I mean, that could be the case.
We would have to see them more to actually get a good understanding of how these guys work, but next week we get to see it.
Yeah, I mean, we do. So we've got our teams ready in terms of the top 8. So I don't know if we have... I'm going to see if we can get something together so we can go over our top 8 teams. But yeah, we've got them. Yeah, so our 16 teams are set. We're going to take a quick peek over on the bracket one more time just to get you a quick update now on who those top 8 teams are and who the teams are that will be playing next Sunday in the EU qualification round. That's going to be Comrade Gaming, Galactic Lions, In Extremis RL, Orcs RL, DNA Esports, Team Solid, Lose Much Rating, and SHIFTplay. So those are your teams. That's who you get. And they will be facing the likes of, well, in fact, let's show you one more time. Who are those teams that they will be facing off against? I'll show you really quick here while we're waiting on the next game to get ready. So your pre-qualified teams are on this list here. So Crown and Jewels, formerly Peace Hater, MyXMG, Noble Esports, Spectral, Gold Rush, Supersonic Avengers, the Three Musketeers, and Team Rocket. All 8 of those teams are going to be difficult. I think that's the best way for me to put this.
Yeah, you are. Even the teams that have been pre-qualified are still going to have to do a ton of work. This is you only qualify if you can lift heavy objects.
Yeah, you've got to do a lot to get to this point, and then a lot to get further as well. So I think what my real question is going to be. So we know these 8 teams, like these teams that are pre-qualified. I mean, I would say we're pretty familiar with all of them. Very familiar with these teams.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe to a slightly lesser extent, Three Musketeers. I don't know about you on that front. But
Musketeers have been a team that have been around for a couple of months now, but they suddenly seem to go from like mid-tier to suddenly just, oh hi, by the way, we're really good.
Yeah.
It's been a whipping. One of their players is just phenomenal. I can't remember what his name is, but I just know I was in a solo freeze with him and he swept me aside. I don't like that.
Yeah, so I don't. I'm not totally familiar with them. I'll be honest. However, every other team in there, yeah, I know them. I've seen them a ton. So, I mean, that is that should be interesting. But the teams that we've got coming out of this bracket, I'm not as familiar with all of them.
I'm going to see if I can bring it up for myself. I will attempt to give history lessons.
Like Comrade, I am. Galactic Lions, I know some of those members. You know, obviously we know they're a relatively brand new team, but I do know some of those members. In Extremis and Orcs, I have a little bit of familiarity with. Orcs is kind of new to kind of emerging here, and they've had a few pretty big wins lately, or at least some solid performances. Yes,
if there was ever a time to really show up in a tournament, I think they just timed it perfectly.
Yeah.
In Extremis, yeah, we said earlier they've been loitering around for a long time, so it's good that they got in here today.
Yeah. DNA Esports, not really familiar with them.
I think they're in the same sort of situation that Lose Much Rating was in, of they've been around for a while, they sort of slowly built up from being a team that was going out first 1 or 2 rounds to a team that is now qualified for the other qualification tournament next week.
Yeah, so let me see. As far as they go, Team Solid, I'm pretty familiar with. They kind of fell off the radar a little bit, just in terms of at least what I remember seeing out of them. I know they were a little bit more present lately, but they had since fallen off the radar, like I said. Lose Much Rating, we just saw. You know,
we've been through their story.
Yeah. SHIFTplay, again, very familiar with SHIFTplay. I think they were playing as SHIFTplay White for a while. I guess there's not a difference anymore. So there's just one SHIFTplay, I'm imagining. I don't know, maybe they are still SHIFTplay White. I mean, either way.
Just showing how good Lose Much Rating have been today. We casted Innovatio earlier today, and they 3-0'd them.
Yeah. Yeah, we saw Innovatio, they 3-0'd Firewall, and then got 3-0'd by Lose Much Rating, so big takeout there. So some good performances all throughout here. I'm eager to see if any of the teams that qualify today can make it through next week's tournament.
That's honestly, it's going to be hard.
It's a big ask.
It's a big
task for any team to try to make it that far, for sure. But that's the kind of thing I really like. Like, that's the sort of thing that kind of makes me very excited about this sort of tournament, is because instead of, like, when we were doing Rocket Royale all the time, and by the way, let me just make sure everybody's aware, Rocket Royale is not gone. It's just on a brief little hold while we're doing this. But based off of what you can contribute in terms of helping RLC and the events you can help us do, Rocket Royale will ultimately come back. But regardless of that, when we were doing Rocket Royale, that was basically like exclusively for the teams that were already really good and were just consistently being really good. That an opportunity like this didn't really exist for those teams. And they didn't have the chance to play in this kind of tournament where any team can be a part of it and try and qualify. So it's a nice little change to allow these teams to actually have an opportunity to get in. So I'm hoping that, you know, we can get something interesting.
Yes.
I guess that's
This
all it
is,
comes down to.
It's definitely the biggest thing that has happened so far. And this is the biggest opportunity. This is open to everyone. This is not invite only. You know, any of us could have gone out and put ourselves in today.
Yeah.
The only difference is that the only invite you really get is the invite to show your stuff. We don't invite you to actually go in. You still have to prove yourself.
Yeah, you do. The only teams that have made it straight into Pro League are teams that have well proven themselves already. Like, there's only 4 teams right now that are in Pro League. They are in there, they are secure, they are safe, and they are teams that you know. IBP Cosmic, Kings of Urban, Flipside Tactics, and SK Gaming. Those are your 4 teams, and I think everybody knows those 4 teams.
Yeah, I would disagree with more or less none of those. Those are definitely the 4 big teams.
Yeah. Because there's certain teams, especially like that, who making them qualify only sways the bracket against other teams.
Yes.
And a lot of what this league is about is opportunity. Like this tournament, specifically these tournaments, the ones that happened yesterday and today, were all about opportunity. Opportunity for any player, any team to get a shot, to try and prove that they're good enough to be a part of this conversation. So if a team out of this tournament, one of these 8 teams, let's bring this up. There we go. If any one of these qualified teams makes it through one of the teams or any of the teams on the left, then that is going to be a pretty big deal.
It is.
For lack of a better term, it's going to be a very big deal if any of these teams that qualified today make it into the Pro League.
I mean, this is why I love this. There is the opportunity next week. We've got 8 teams that we don't. I would say you can comfortably say they are the underdogs, but we all love an underdog story.
We do, and I mean they're underdogs simply based off the fact that they are, you know, they didn't automatically make it in, or they didn't automatically.
That's what
make
we're
it
basing that
week.
off.
Yeah, because you know, like I said, all of these results, the reason that some of these teams were able to make it in is because of the way they performed over the last 3 weeks. So that means a lot of these teams, I mean, if you look at the names on that list there, on the left side, these are teams that are pretty well established, and we're going to need to make a slight correction.
Was there mistakes made? For anyone asking what city is in my background, it's Stalham. Small town called Stalham.
There we go. Sorry, I just have to make sure there's a correction made to the graphic here. Old names, you know? Hard to keep up with that stuff.
Yes, we were saying it earlier. It's hard to tell whose teams that are now newly put together and who are just teams that have decided, oh, we don't like this name anymore.
I mean, let's be completely honest on things, though. Of most teams, this is a team that has changed their name a lot.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to go through the history. I made a promise to Pashi that I wouldn't go through the history. But,
I made no promise.
If you want to do, if you want to do your own due diligence, you can see.
Nah, I will honor what you said, but this is why I don't promise things.
I mean, yeah. There's been a lot of names for that team, but anyway. So the former Peace Hater, now known as Crown and Jewels, they are one of the teams that are in there. They've been a consistent threat in ESL for a long time now. Like, they've been winning many ESL tournaments. and actually having some pretty solid performance overall. We know MyXMG placed in the top 3 in the last week's tournaments that they've been playing in, formerly known as Kapow. They've been on a roll lately. Noble Esports, we know how much of a tear that they've been on. So they've been running roughshod.
Noble have been a team that we said for a long time that SK and Flipside were the top 2, that they had a tier to themselves. Noble have had a brief period of time where they were knocking on the door to get in there, and they've sort of dropped down. So it's going to be important for Noble to really come into this.
Yeah, this is a little bit of redemption that they are going to need for sure. So, we know Spectral. Spectral had a great run through ESL to get the attention. They made it into Rocket Royale, had a few solid positions. I think made it all the way up to number 4 on the power rankings before they slipped a little bit. But they haven't fallen completely.
Nope.
So their performance there has been good. Gold Rush is kind of new, not really new, but they are comprised of former members of...
They have 2 members from Smoking Rockets.
Yeah.
And they have I Am a Tree, formerly of Team Rocket fame.
So that's a pretty stacked squad. I'm gonna say. So I'm eager to see them play.
Yeah, they seem to be struggling to gel a little bit at the moment. But they've got time. They've got another week.
They do, and this is a good week for them to, get maybe ESL under or not ESL. They're gonna maybe I don't know. Either way, this is gonna be a good week for them
this week.
Yeah, no, this is gonna be a good week for them to do like Gfinity and things like that. But anyway.